the ancient and sacred sound of bells. Here's a deeper history of symbolism. There's an ancient knowledge that lives in the body. The way the foot strikes the earth is not just movement, it is communication, it is calling, and it is prayer. Across time, continents, the ankle has been adorned with a beautiful, ancient sound of bells, not just for beauty, but to announce one's arrival and to ward off unseen forces and to connect each step to the divine rhythm of the cosmos. Here, the ankle is not just passive jewelry. It is an instrument of invocation. The dancer becomes the drum, their body hollowed out and filled in with spirit. Moreover, these adornments often carry protective powers. Their sounds were believed to ward off malevolent forces, ensuring that not only the dancer, but the entire village remained shielded. In India, the payal, a silver anklet strung with bells, wraps the ankle with both sound and sanctity. Silver is believed to be a cooling metal in Ayurvedic tradition, and it grounds the energy that rises within the body, especially the feminine energy of the Shakti, which is powerful, raw, and creative. The sound of the payal is more than a decoration, it's a herald. In temples, the faint chime of anklets signal the arrival of the deity's consort, an auspicious sound believed to please the gods themselves. In some classical Indian dance form, the anklets evolved into hundreds of small bells tied around the ankle, each step a conversation with the earth, each rhythm a transmission of devotion. But beyond the sacred, there is the sensual. In wedding rites, the gifting of payal to the bride marks her transition from maiden to wife, from one house to another. Here's an ancient technique to follow of how the symbolic bell is created. So my work is based on ancient historical research. When I was younger, I studied art, but I loved just worldly adornment, the practical things. Actually, it's called craft, you know, when we use them on our body, if it's a useful object. So a lot of my work is based on objects and the way adornment was used, the way objects were used on your body. And you know, many times I found, so I did a lot of research in museums, and then I would travel up into India and East Africa and South America and Morocco and places like this. And a lot of the jewelry that was built and, you know, were used as the percussion in dance music. So think about it before we even had you know, where we could just walk up to our Spotify and pop on some music that we wanted to. You know, all music was actually done before. Some areas that I spent time in didn't even have electricity. So in the evenings, people would put their adornment on and, you know, get out and listen to drumming and music and just all different types, and dance and sing and use their bodies and their instruments for this reason. And this is what I'm passionate about. So today I want to just show you a little bit on these bells that are from India. This is the sacred sound of the anklets, and it's a journey through bells and movement. But these are actually called the payal. And they're tiny little bells that are worn in multiples and worn on the anklets and just used when you walk. It announces yourself moving in, and it also is great for percussions. So these are deeply symbolic, and they're actually, the bells are more than just ornaments. They're the language of presence and protection. A lot of times noise in the history, sound and noise, were used to ward off the evil. Clapping and drumming and, you know, a lot of concerns were to ward off the evil eye. So I want to show you guys today just a version of one way that you could make these bells here. This is also a historical one, and sometimes the bells are used for abundance too, you know, which is why they sometimes look like the women body parts. So to get started, I'm going to use this cutter here, and I'm going to probably just use the second to the largest size. We don't need the largest. This was a piece that I had reticulated, and that's another film that you guys have, but I was able to get this beautiful cut and piercing in the bottom of the bell right here, you know. So whatever type of metal you decide to use, you can get a lot of different looks to it. That one just happened naturally. I'm just going to use a plain piece of silver today that is just normal, and I'm going to put it in my disc cutter. And if you don't have a disc cutter, you can actually order, you know, if you're interested in doing this project, you can actually just order this. Let me move the bell so I can get this in. You can actually just order these discs already cut. And this side here is a 9/16 that I'm working with today. But I'm going to just show you how to cut it. It's going to be loud here for a second, but I actually just need to hit right onto here, and I'm going to cut out 2 discs. And 1. Oops. I need to get the disc out. This is just the last process to get the disc out. Sometimes it's a little difficult. And then I need one more. I love these disc cutters. I use these so much. So to me, this is worth the investment for me, if you know, in my silver area. And I just need that little extra boost to get my tools out to follow through when you cut big discs like this. Okay, so I have 2 beautiful discs. Let me get this out of the way. This is from a Peppy tool. And now I want to, you know, you want to make sure these are annealed. And I'm going to actually bring a brick over and just anneal these real quickly. Okay, so this is called a dapping block. And this dapping block has a number of different spaces that, you know, for each different size that I need to go into. So I'm going to start at a larger one and work my way to a smaller one depending on how curved I want my sides to be. So this is what I need. I used a 24 gauge sterling silver metal, and I cut out my 2 discs. Now remember, if you don't have the cutter, you can just order your silver in discs. And I would order multiples, because remember, these bells work when they are able to strike each other, you know, in a hollow form. So this one is pretty cool. And the only other thing I need is a little jump ring to put on in the end. So I'm going to start by just, and you want to make sure these are annealed. So mine actually are annealed. I'm going to start with maybe this piece right here in the corner. I'm going to find a nice disc. This is a nice size, so I've got my dapping blocks here, and I'm going to keep working my way smaller. I'm missing a few of them, but I'm going to keep working my way smaller. So I'm going to start here with both of them and just put in the center and just start by striking it on the top. You don't have to hit hard, but you can already see the disc that's forming. So let me get both of them in and let them both be equal. I want to make sure I get all angles on this. Okay, then the next step is I'm going to move down to a smaller one. Let's see if, yep, this one will still work in here. Maybe I need a little bit smaller. Get this size here. Okay. Woo. Yep, see my disc? I'm starting to get more of a disc in here. There we go. And I'm going to bring it to this side here. Let's see, this one looks good here. Let's see if I need to change. Go down a little bit smaller. This will be a good size. These don't get stuck in there. You know, you can see the difference on how I'm really bringing these around. They don't get stuck. It's nice and oiled up. I've used it a lot. Voila. And move it to this one here. Let's go a little bit smaller. You don't need a lot of the discs. I don't have a lot. I used to bring them around to teach, and I ended up losing a few of them. So I might be investing in another set. And I'm going to come one more time around. There, look at how nice these are dapped, right? I've got a little tiny one here. Let's see. I don't know if that's going to work or not. Let's see. No. Let me see how I like this to the side. So I could go deeper, or I can actually just keep it. Ooh, that's a nice little, this is a nice little piece here. See how perfect that just sits together? So let me get rid of this. I'm going to keep it as is. It's almost a little bit like a disc, you know, which is kind of fun. Really kind of fun. This one I curved a little bit more. This one is not curved as much. Okay, so the next thing that I want to do is grab my sandpaper, and I need to make sure my sides are polished. And when my sides are polished, I should be able to pick up both my discs. You know, you want to see this white ridge around the edges. That actually lets you know your metal is clean. So even if my metal is dirty and black from annealing, you know, my edges are clean. So I can go ahead and solder this way. Okay, let's see. This edge looks beautiful all the way around. See how perfect that's going to go together. Okay, so my next steps are going to be to solder this together, but before I do that, I need to make sure that there is a hole. Anytime you're working with a hollow form, you need to have a hole in your piece. So I'm actually just going to bring in the tiniest of a little dot in here. A lot of times what I do is I will just cover it, but with this piece here, I'm just going to come in and give a little drill hole. Okay, I'm going to put in the tiniest, this is a 62-bit, the tiniest little drill hole in here. And I'm going to do this at the top of one of these, and this is where I actually will set the jump ring to cover it up. There we go. There's my little hole. Just to be able to let the pressure, the moisture, any of that out. If you don't drill a hole in a hollow form, it will explode, and it is not fun. So for me to hold this project steady, people use a number of different things. You know, if you think about it, I don't want this wobbling around, so I want it to stay steady. So I like to use this hold it. The cool thing is it's a kind of clay that I can use to set my piece exactly where I want to set it, and I don't need a lot. And once I fire it, there's moisture in here, but once I fire it, you know, this actually will, I can use it over and over again, put water back into it again. So here's the thing, is that I don't want to get the clay on the areas that I am going to solder. But this will be enough just to hold it where it's not going to wobble all over the place. So I'm going to bring this over to my soldering board, and this can actually be put on the board and fired right onto. Works great. Spritz it with a little flux, and then this is my medium solder, and I have a little piece of easy for later, but that's my medium. I'm going to do some pick soldering again with this and set it up. So I don't need a high flame, really. I'm going to turn it down low. It's a tiny piece. Okay, get a little bit of my medium and just kind of put it on the edges. People do this a number of different ways. This is the way I love to do it. just get it going. I've got my hole in here so I can just get my top put on. Get it all the way centered. Hang on a second. Make sure this is nice and centered. I have a little bit of solder on here, so, but once the solder flows, it's going to work beautifully. There we go. Give it another nice spritz. And I probably will add more solder. Turn the heat up a little bit. Beautiful fit. Get it nice and hot. I can come in from the side, get that solder to flow, and then get my piece set beautifully. And if you have a little bit of trouble, you just start from the beginning. Get my solder flowing. There we go. Okay, once you start having a connection, that's a beautiful fit. Once I start having a connection, I'm going to get back in with my medium solder. You can see how pretty that's sitting. Love it. And work from the side. So I'll try to work from the side that you guys can see. Yep. Bring it down. As you can see, I let the solder leak on the top. Sometimes it's hard to get in from these angles that I'm showing you guys, but then I just pull it down. Remember the heat, the solder goes where the heat flows, so I can just bring it down this way. Okay, now I'm going to bring it over to the top. Get some a little bit back here. Ooh, starting to float nice and easily. I'm just going to watch and make sure my edges all seal. Okay. I think I've got it. So pretty. There we go. Well, you know, you don't need a lot of solder because one or two pieces, everything will just start flowing all the way around. So I'm actually just going to put this right into my flux and cool it down. And then I can check my piece out. And I'm actually going to get ready and get this. I'm going to pickle this all, but I think I can still do one more thing. If I want to actually get in, I'm just going to grab my sandpaper. You guys know what I'm trying to say here. I'm just going to clean it off a little. All I need is one little clean surface. This is hot, but as long as I have a dap in here, I'm going to bring it back in to this nice area here, and I'm going to actually put my jump ring up right on the top here. So the first thing I have to do with my jump ring is close it up. And there we go. Give it a little spritz also with some flux. This I saved an easy solder for, so I've got a little piece of easy that's going to go in and close up the jump ring, and it's a big piece, so it's an excessive piece. There we go. See how that just flowed nice and easy? Get it off this means I have a lot of flux on my pick. Okay, locking pliers, requench. I'm setting this up to balance. And I'm going to come in right on the top part here. Oops, let's make sure the solder is facing the right direction. There we go. See that? I've got my jump ring here. There's my solder. So I'm just going to heat up. I think I spritzed this piece. Let me make sure though. This is why the hole, if it's wet inside here with flux, you know, the heat pulled it all in. So I'm going to heat it to make sure the inside gets nice and dry, because I'm a little bit, you know, I'm going to be covering it up with the Easy. So you can cover up your holes, and this is a really good tip. You can cover up your holes with just this little bit of Easy solder right at the end. You can't solder too much after that. But I'm just going to go ahead and lay this down. And let me watch it from the side, make sure. And I'm, whoop. There we go. I know it's hard to see because it's not as clean, but there you go. That really flowed nicely. Sometimes I just wait to pickle it all in the end, and there's a gorgeous little bell. You saw the last one popped open. That's because I used a really heavily reticulated piece. But this one is done in, you know, this one's done, and it looks beautiful, and the two of them together are going to be amazing. So I'm going to get this cleaned up, and I'll show you what it looks like in the end, and that means pickle. I'm going to be putting this in the pickle. I'm going to be scrubbing it up with the metal brush, which I'll show you, and then, you know, I'll actually be just polishing it up a little bit. So here are the 3 finished bells that are called payas in India, and these are really made to work together and give you a percussion sound and ward off the evil that's around you and just, you know, make a statement through life. But this one here this is done with the reticulated silver, was so cool. Just try things and explore different metals and also attaching different things. So this actually was able to just pop open pretty easy. I didn't do anything different to it, but I really love, you know, just from all the stress from the reticulation, when I started really using this in the dapping block, it ended up just kind of blowing open. So therefore, I already had a hole. You know, with hollow forms, you have to have a hole to seal it up. So that was pretty cool. This one here, I just finished right now with the sterling silver. It looks beautiful. And something that another thing that you could also expand into is I could have thrown like a couple pieces of snipped steel wire inside of here, and then it would jingle on its own, not just jingling together, but it would jingle on its own. Steel will not be soldered with the rest of it. Also expanding into maybe putting a message or writing in with a marker inside of here, like that's absolutely the way I do my prayer boxes, that way. And that's just done with the 24 gauge. And this actually is a piece that is from India that I want to show you guys, just because you can embellish onto it. I could have kept going and just added a top, a bottom to it. You can add anything you want to these and just expand on them. They're really fun. They're beautiful, done in multiples. Maybe I'll put these 3 together. One is an ankle bracelet. Traditionally, they just make noise and dance and music, and it makes you feel good. And that's what personal sacred jewelry is all about. So have fun with this. Yeah, we can. This is our little baubles, hollow forms. Good.